Marcelo Garcia, and I'm a senior systems engineer for PlanSource. We do benefits open enrollment as a service solution, so we're a cloud provider for people trying to enroll their dependents, basically simplifying insurance forms for any small, medium, larger business, so that way when new changes come out every year, it's much easier to explain. We kind of hold your hand through the entire process of trying to get you through that 4 months or 3 months out of the year where everybody needs to get insurance for them and their family. Currently we use vCenter Operations Manager, which is VCOPS if you will, and that drives our storage analytics based on what's performing, where our bottlenecks are, how to quickly identify why is it slow. Is it memory? Is it compute? Is it solid state disk? What is the bounds of which your application is not performing? We also use the vSphere replication appliance along in tandem with vCenter Orchestrator to do the set it up once mentality. The machine is created at primary site A, and then with Orchestrator, it actually goes through the series of doing the replication, setting it up, and then getting that VM set up on the other side. Sort of a cheap and easy way of doing it for free. Virtually anything. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're trying to cross the bounds into virtualizing an application that can't be done, won't be done, or challenging the vendor in that regard, or you're looking to scale. Virtualization is almost the only way to scale both vertically and linearly, because applications are often bound by linear growth, where you just need to throw more at it in order to increase capacity. And some of that is where you just need to ask for how much resources I can get on the fly. So a lot of hot plug, a lot of hot out of memory, being able to be very flexible within an environment where traditional architecture from the past, you can't do that. You can't take a hard drive, you can't take a motherboard out of a computer and put it in another one. vCenter and VMware's products allow us to look at things and focus on things that we usually didn't have time for because you were architecting solutions based on hardware. VMware makes it hardware agnostic, so it's just how fast you want to go. Being able to itemize by using vApps, vApplications, to do start order and shutdown startup priorities, so that way if you have dependent, NFS and database mounts, applications won't come up prior to that. If you're a one-man shop, it allows you to turn things on in a way that most people would have to sit there and wait for the next one to go up and the next one and then watch the console. So, peace of mind. That's what we really use VMware for. Incredibly stable. So much to the point of there's times where we may not know that we're running at half capacity or full capacity based on a failover that happens on the back end. And I think that says enough for not only architecting and choosing the right hardware vendors, but it also shows that you can actually be failed over on your appliance and business still runs as normal. Things just keep working. That constant, just non-disruptive change, if you will. In terms of evaluation for technical support from VMware, you get what you pay for. You have 24/7 support, which allows you to leverage call centers in Ireland and other locations where they surprise me every time. There's always something I learn from every support case I've ever had to open, even if it's just to kick the tires and make sure we're doing things sort of right. I would like to see much more of maybe application intelligence. I mean, unfortunately, you have storage vendors who are kind of doing that for us right now with your Extreme IO and Storage IO and cards inside of something that has some application intelligence to make MySQL work, SQL work with storage that you can just buy. But VMware being able to characterize database platforms based on use cases of MySQL or SQL, and they're very different. So being able to tell the difference between the two and say, hey, look, this will work here, but it won't work here. That would be kind of nice. It's challenging using MySQL with vCenter because Linux as a whole is a latency-sensitive OS. So you're only as good as your slowest moving part. Doesn't matter if it's disk, memory, or processor. And sometimes it's shortest path to storage. So in order to make MySQL work, you need micron-second processing, and in some cases, when you have monolithic-sized databases, you need to be able to scale that at the same time. So unfortunately, with the way MySQL plays with storage and the way VMware is kind of right now, there's a lot of, it's kind of where I went with the application intelligence. There's a lot of, not taboo if you will, but does it really work? And you're not going to find a lot of use cases because unfortunately our business falls into a different sector, if you will, by running Linux as a primary OS. So better support for newer Linux kernels would be always great. The fact that they've released open tools and made it the supported platform for just about every Linux distribution out there now sees that they're solving the problem, like the VMXNet 3 adapter. The driver's not there, the machine's not online. So there has been some pitfalls, but VMware's been able to, from a company that supplies an application and an OS, solve a lot of those. And they are listening to the customers. So it's very difficult to kind of say what's still left. Because after today, you never really know what that could change. I was lucky enough to come into a virtualization shop. They pretty much didn't want to do the physical server aspect anymore because, again, it doesn't scale. So walking into a virtualized shop is very easily. Winning that battle can be very difficult. I've been on the other side a handful of times. It's really just showing the value in which case VMware can fix the problem. And you got to be very specific about what problem you're fixing. Is it latency? Is it processing power? Is it being able to provide DR? Is it being able to move your workloads to the cloud or move them to a different data center? It's amazing how only a couple months out of the year you need DR. You don't need it 12 months out of the year. So moving from just a standard virtualization shop, having everything on-prem, leveraging the cloud, that's the next step. So that's, when you ask me about how would I introduce VMware, I think about introducing it now as a cloud-based service provider, not just as an on-prem, hey, let's just scale this very easily. I'd give vCenter a 10. I mean, they've been able to push out little things as the management agent, which allow you to work through vCenter and allow you to connect through vCenter to see all your hosts and make automation very, very easy. And on top of that, they give you the vSphere appliance. So you're no longer tied to a SQL license. You don't have to worry about using SQL Express and running out of space or running out of license space and then relicensing it. And then they've also solved the upgrade path. You know, every time a new B, C, D, whatever version of vCenter comes out, I don't know how many times the Windows version just blows up. Seeing a company be able to say, okay, you know what, let's take a step back. Let's use a very similar OS and let's allow you to utilize vCenter just like ESXi. It's the same platform. Anything that solves a problem, find out what your biggest problem is and see how VMware can help you solve that problem. There's more principal architects out there that, especially with everything that's being added to the platform, that would be, you know, people specialize specifically in things. VMware has that capacity and the capability to help you solve that problem. Getting the vendor involved, maybe not necessarily a service provider, but having VMware actually evaluate it because they're going to tell you what you're doing wrong. We operate within a 10% market of people who don't use Windows. You got to find somebody out there, and one of the biggest problems you'll find is you won't find MySQL documentation in terms of what people are using and how they're using it. It's like this big. There's not a lot of information that people in a private sector are even willing to share or in the public sector because they're still trying to figure it out themselves. So finding out who's successful is pretty much who's willing to write the review. And actually that's something I'd like to contribute in terms of what we're doing to kind of put it out there, let other people know, come to you guys and say, who else is doing this? We can't be the first people.